Well, it seems that Donald Trump has finally decided to come clean and tell the truth. And he's saying he's tweeting or truthing, whatever you call it on Truth Social, that this is a regime change conflict, a regime change war. Let's talk. Hello, Garland Nixon here on a Sunday evening with an update on the latest. Donald Trump. Oh, my dad. There was a guy, my dad, as I said, I always talk about my dad saying he had a lot of stuff with him, but he was a longshoreman, and he used to talk about this guy, I won't mention the guy's name, but he used to talk about how much the guy lied, and he used to say the guy told the truth one time, but he lied his way out of it. So let's see what's happening with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is coming clean with us. Here's what he says. And let's read Donald Trump's latest tweet, truth, whatever you call it. Here's what he says. It's not politically correct to use the term regime change. Now think about this. Politically correct. What does that mean? What is Donald Trump saying? I know, and you know what the term politically correct means, right? It means something that people, that the mainstream of America, particularly say liberal America, generally, that's what it's referring to. The liberal America doesn't accept, finds offensive, right? So politically correct, we're talking about euphemisms, right? Oftentimes, and saying things that, quote, liberal America that finds offensive. And for some people, as a way of pushing back against liberal America, they deliberately say things that are politically correct. They use the term politically correct as an insult, of a way of saying that's absurd, that's ridiculous, I oppose that. So that's the term politically correct. There's a lot to be said about it. But when Donald Trump says it's not politically correct to use the term regime change, so what is he saying? He's saying this is something that, sure, you shouldn't say it out loud. You should just whisper it. It's not acceptable in polite company to say regime change. And what he really is saying is, amongst my people, amongst what used to be those who think they're my people, amongst the MAGA crowd. That's what Trump is saying. That so okay, amongst the MAGA crowd, amongst everybody, I know I'm not supposed to use the word regime change. But, and let me teach you something about the word but from the statement analysis perspective. When a person says but, here's what it means. Disregard everything I said before the word but. When it says, well, I don't want to say anything bad about old Garland, but what that means about, I'm going to say something bad about Garland. Forget everything that I said before this word but. You can start from there. So forget the first part. Let's get rid of everything from the word but and read what he has to say. So forget the political blah, blah, blah. Here's what he says. Here's Donald Trump's actual tweet. If you disregard the stuff that he tells you to disregard by using the word but. Donald Trump tweeting this. If the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, right, quote, make Iran great again. Now, keep in mind this. Donald Trump recently said, when people said, hey, this is not America first, this is not making America great again, right? There are a lot of people who said, look, you're starting another war in the Middle East, another regime change war. You're you're blowing up the budget. That's not America first. That's not make America great again. And Donald Trump said, no, 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 no. You think that you get to say that. You think that you, working class schlemiels out here, get to decide what America first or make America great again is. That ain't the way it works. It's mine. I do. What Donald Trump is saying is, you all thought this was a bottom-up movement. You all thought that you were going to say something and I was going to respond, that you were going to vote for a politician, me, and then I was going to react to your needs. That's what you thought, that it was bottom-up politicians. You were upset. You were sick and tired of these top-down politics. And you said, we want to decide the direction of the U.S. and we want our politician to follow it. That's make America great again. That's America first. That's what the so-called people that voted for Donald Trump thought. God bless their poor, misguided souls. But Donald Trump said, and I'd like to say this. At the beginning, people watched me. I said, well, let's see what happens. I was never a Trump fan, but Trump said some things, and I said, let's see what happens. Let's see. Well, we see what happens now. But at any rate, so here's what he says. If the current Iranian regime is not able to make Iran great again in the same way that he told his voters, supporters, electorate, I decide what make America great again means. I decide what America first means, not you. So basically Donald Trump saying, I decide that America first means regime change in Iran. I decide that America first means Israel first. I decide that make America great again means make Israel great again. And if I do that, you got to take it. This is top-down politics. This ain't bottom-up politics. That's what Donald Trump says. So let's continue. If the current regime is unable to make Iran great again, as defined by Donald Trump, make Iran great again, as defined by Donald Trump. And what is Donald Trump really saying? When the United States overthrew the government of Mohammad Mossadegh in 1953, the United States installed a brutal dictator. Donald Trump is saying make Iran great again means to reinstall a brutal dictator puppet from the United States. Anyway, why wouldn't there be a regime change? My God. I guess that's make Iran great again. But most people say it's make Israel great again. But in this context, he means make Iran great again. So now, think about it. Make America great again was intended to be make America great again. This is about America. It was a nationalist slogan. It was a nationalist slogan. These were nationalists saying this is a nationalist slogan. Donald Trump now says make Israel great again. Here's what he's saying. It ain't a national slogan. It is a globalist slogan. It is a neocon slogan. It is what I say it is. Just like Through the Looking Glass, right? Alice in Wonderland. Was it the Humpty Dumpty who said my words mean exactly what I say they mean? So Donald Trump is saying, look, if the Iranian government doesn't do what I want them to do, if they can't make Iran great again as I define it, why wouldn't there be a regime change? Why wouldn't there be a regime change? In other words, regime change implies that it will be forced upon them. So Donald Trump's saying, I might have to do a regime change. Now, that implies that he can do a regime change, but I think we all know that if he attempts a regime change, that means a major war that could very well draw Russia or China at the minimum, if he attempts a regime change in in Iran, the minimum is Iran will strike out against American targets. Iran will close the Straits of Hormuz. And let's just say, for the sake of argument, let's go. I don't think it'll ever get there, but let's just say, for the sake of argument, the Iranian government is cornered. The United States is bombing, coming down on them. Things are looking bleak. They've already said what they'll do. They've told you, if things get really bad for us, if things are looking rough, what did they say? Exactly what they did. They said, we will destroy the Western economy. We'll wipe it out. They said, what we'll do is we'll take out all of the oil infrastructure in the region. So in order to get regime change, which you ain't going to get anyway, it would cost us our economy. It would cost the entire world. Clearly, they're telling you what they're going to do. And who wouldn't? Look, you ever read Sun Tzu, The Art of War? What does Sun Tzu say? Always leave an army, what do they call the golden corridor or whatever. If you attack someone, an army, leave them a way to get out. Leave them a way out, or else they'll fight to the last man. They will fight like hell. You've never seen anybody fight like that if they don't have a way to get away, or they don't have a way to escape. What else do they have? They're going to fight like hell to the last man. You ain't never seen a fight like that. So what you're saying to Iran is, we may have to take your government out. What that means, that is the message to Iran. And the message to Iran is, your back is up against the wall. They intend to destroy you. And the message to the Iranian people, and they already know what that means, installing another brutal dictator that will act in service to Benjamin Netanyahu. And right now, what are they doing? They are starving the Palestinians to death. They have locked them in Gaza. They have cut off food. They're cut off water. There is mass starvation. They put out food so that when people go after the food, they machine gun people down when they go out for food. It is an extermination of an entire people. It is the most horrific, brutal extermination you have ever could ever imagine. It is a Holocaust. That's what Israel and the United States is doing right now, a genocidal Holocaust against the Palestinian people. The most unthinkable evil act that humanity can imagine your government, if you're in the United States and Israel, are doing. And they're saying to Iran, we want to be in charge of your government. If you're an Iranian citizen, what do you think is going to happen? If you're a citizen of Iran and you're looking at Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump, and you're looking at what they're doing to the Palestinians, what do you think is going to happen to you if they get in charge of your country? They're going to kill you. They're going to starve you. They're going to genocide you. That's who they are. That's what they do. So if you are the Iranian government, if you are the Iranian military, if you are the last Iranian person on the street, here's what you know. You better go down fighting. You better fight with everything you have, because they will obliterate your entire culture and kill every one of you. And that Trump is saying, why wouldn't there be a regime change? Means that Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, right? The most sociopathic, psychopathic people on earth are saying, we will obliterate your government and then we'll take over. And I think you know what comes next, right? So what we got is Donald Trump. Now, someone said he's losing his mind. I wouldn't call it like that. Look, let's look at it another way. He already got elected, if you think about it. Donald Trump lied when he needed to get elected. What he's saying now, I mean, his whole shtick, his whole schmeal was a lie. Donald Trump came out and he said, look, you know, if you elect me, I'll do this and that. Think about it. He was the French fry cook. He was the trash truck driver. He was all of these things that he needed to be to get the votes. He put on a show. And American people, see, and I'm not going to be mad at the American people or blame the American people. The American people were in desperation, man. They were seeing everything. They were seeing their country fall apart. They were seeing their lives get harder. They were seeing things go really, really bad for them, and they were desperate. And Donald Trump played off of that. What's really evil is Donald Trump is saying, I knew what the people wanted. But think about it. That's what Joe Biden did in 2020. Joe Biden came in and says, I know what the Democrats want. And he promised them everything that the Democrats asked for. He promised, and he did none of them. And 4 years later, Donald Trump knew what MAGA wanted. And he told them, hey, I'm going to deal with immigration. I'm going to deal with, what did he tell them? I'm going to deal with, there's no more regime change wars. I'm going to be the peace president. I'm going to end the wars here. I'm going to end the wars there. He told them what they wanted. He did what Joe Biden did. He did what this political system does. Think about it. He did. Think about this. For all of those who are really mad at Trump, what's the point of getting mad at Trump? You remember George W. Bush and his compassionate conservatism, right? Donald Trump said, Bush said, yeah, you know, we're going to be compassionate because it was a lie. Whatever. What do you want to hear? Donald Trump came out. Don't get mad at him. He did the same thing. You voted for a Democrat or a Republican. They're going to find one of the two to say what you want. After the people get pissed off at the Democrats, I saw Kim Iverson, who I love dearly. She's smart. She's great. I saw what I would call a knee-jerk emotional reaction. She says, I'm burned up. I'm going to vote straight Democrat in the midterms. Man, look. She's a smart woman. Seems like a really good person. And she seems like she is acting out in anger. And that's normally what you get. And that's what the machine knows. Hey, Trump screwed you. I'm voting Democrat. Who? Wait, Democrat. Oh, wait a minute. I got Joe Biden. Holy mother of God. This guy's going to start a nuclear war and kill us all. Don't worry about that. The Republicans will produce something that appears to be different. Some guy who's a Republican will come out and say, vote for me, and I'll stop the regime change wars. Why? I'll stop this war. I'll stop that war. 24, 48 hours, 2 weeks. I'll stop them all. Then he'll get in office and he'll say, it's going to take a little longer than I thought to stop these wars. Then he'll get in office and say, but now that I think about it, notwithstanding the fact that we need to stop these wars, that country over there sure has a lot of oil. And, a little bit of uranium too. And perhaps a few other things that we need. I think they're making a nuclear weapon. They're going to threaten us all. They'll kill us all. We better do something about it. Let me call Benjamin Netanyahu and see what he thinks. That's it. That's all Trump's doing. He's playing the role. Don't get mad at Trump. See, here's the thing about it. I think from the domestic politics perspective, there's something good happening here. There's something good, really, really good happening. And that is American people are learning the truth. You can't act on anything if you don't know what you're acting on. As long as you think the Democrats are the problem and all you got to do is get a bunch of Republicans in and they'll straighten it out. All we got to do is get Kash Patel in. He'll release the Epstein tapes. He'll release all the stuff on Seth Rich. He'll release all the stuff on name it all. Russiagate and the investigate. He's going to investigate the 2020 election, and he's going to, if we get Kash Patel, you heard the guy. He said all the right things, Kash Patel. But what did Kash Patel say? Look, the main thing is we got to be here for Israel, right? Let me see if I can find something. Kash Patel, Israel support. Let me see if we can look at that. Let me tell you why Kash Patel got a job. You know why he's got a job? This is why. Kash Patel urges Americans to prioritize Israel's incoming FBI role. The FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, aren't they supposed to check out kidnappings, terrorism, bank robberies? Nope. No, they're not. Nope. In fact, what's it say? Kash Patel has been tapped as Trump's choice for the next FBI director recently made a statement calling for Americans to wake up and place a higher priority on supporting Israel. Patel emphasized the need for a strong partnership between the U.S. and Israel, stating that America's security and global leadership depended on the nation's commitment to its ally in the Middle East. His call to elevate Israel's role in American priorities reflects the President-elect Trump's own stance on the U.S.-Israel relationship, which saw a significant policy shift during Trump's term, including the recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Right? That's why Kash Patel's got a job. So guess what? All those people that thought they were getting the Seth Rich tapes. All those people that thought, Epstein, let's see. Hey, Mossad, I wonder what country they could possibly be affiliated with, right? Okay, if you thought for 1 second you were getting any of that stuff, Trump saying that that finally coming out and saying it's a regime change war is beautiful. I love it. We should thank Trump. We should, I'll put it like this. Trump has told a lot of lies in his day. He has. This time, I think he told the truth. It is a regime change war. First of all, Israel started off by saying it was a regime change war, saying, the mullahs and the regime in Iran and blah, blah, blah. So Israel came out and said, look, we need regime change. So then Trump comes out and we put all of these war machines in there. And then Trump says, now keep in mind what Trump says. He puts all these war machines there and he implies, no, we're just going to strike these little, nothing. They dropped some bombs in the middle of the desert. We've seen that game before. They dropped some bombs in the desert. Then they lied. The whole lot of them lied and said, we didn't drop just empty bombs in the desert. No. Don't you believe that for a second? We took out Iran's nuclear capabilities. You got to be stupid to believe that. Either one of two things. Either you have to be stupid or you got to be one of the puppets that just whatever they say, you go along with it, right? One of the two things. I mean, it's absurd, right? So Donald Trump comes out and tells a flat lie. Hey, we hit these things and they're all done. Finished. Yay. Hooray. They're finished. Right? Okay. And he's like, and if they don't mess with us, we won't mess with them. Well, we knew that's a lie. Come on. You didn't bring all of this stuff. You didn't bring aircraft carriers or you name it, all of this stuff to the region just to drop a few bombs in the middle of the desert and go home. I don't think they did. They brought all of that in. Now this is the opening salvo. So what really was it? Trump he just gave away the game, telling us it's a regime change war. Here's what just happened. There could be a false flag. Trump was going to create his own false flag, right? This is all this was. This is very simple. Trump is going to, number one, bring all this stuff and get ready to attack Iran. Number two, you fly a bunch of missiles and you blow something up in the desert. So you didn't really do much, right? Hoping for Iran to blow up some American bases and kill some American troops. Now, that's what the sad state of affair is. They left some American troops exposed on purpose to get them killed. What this was about was, we're going to attack Iran and we ain't going to kill anybody. We're going to tell them where we're going to Iraq. We're going to, do this. We bombed them, but we didn't really hurt anybody. It was a clean bombing. We went in and we bombed some sites, but we're not hurting anybody. We're not trying to upgrade this thing any further than it has to be. We're just trying to chill out. Figuring Iran's going to hit back and kill some Americans. Now, how treacherous are these people? How treacherous are they? Now American soldiers are, guess what? American soldiers are cannon fodder. This was an attack to invite a reply from the Iranians so they could then go in and say, okay, well, we got our war, got to do our regime change war. They killed an American soldier. See, keep in mind something. Think about this. They got 16% approval rating for this war. In 1991, what did they do? And you probably know about it. What did they do in 1991? They wanted to go in and take out Iraq due to the whole Kuwait situation, which again was probably false flagged away, right? So what did they do? There was a very low approval rating for the war. They cooked up a lie. They brought someone who was like the ambassador or royal member of the royal family's daughter. They brought her to Congress, pretending that she was just somebody. She was an actress, basically. And she told a lie. They made up this story. And the story was about, she says, I was in a hospital and the Iraqi soldiers were taking newborn babies out of incubators and throwing them on the floor. It's her fake crying. So they could take the incubators back to Baghdad. So what we're supposed to believe is they invaded Kuwait to steal incubators. Like, they're not all that expensive. They all this was to go to Kuwait just to steal incubators. That's all they wanted. That Saddam Hussein was like, guys, look, when you get to the city of Kuwait, don't worry about gold, money, diamonds, weapons. Forget all that crap. We got bigger fish to fry here. We want you to go straight to the hospital. If there's any babies in incubators, just take them out and throw them outside. Who the hell cares? Like you know what they're basically saying? They were saying that the Iraqi soldiers are every bit as treacherous as the IDF. That's what they were saying. That's something the IDF does, right? But anyway, so they're saying, look, we got to get those incubators. They're very expensive, and we need some because I don't know, we don't have enough of them. I don't know. We're just evil. Yeah. So go to Kuwait. Onto the floor with the babies and the incubators, bring the incubators home. How stupid is that? How dumb do you have to do to believe that? You have to be as dumb as the American people, because when they did the babies and incubators thing, and then, of course, the media, Operation Mockingbird, went in motion. And the media all over the place said, oh, babies and incubators. Oh, my gosh, babies thrown out of incubators. We got to go in. Like, Americans were like, okay, let's do it. So they got up to 60%. And then they went. They cooked up a lie. They made it up. They lied to Congress. They lied to the American people. And when Congress found out it was a lie, did they hold anybody accountable? No, because they were in on it. Okay, here's my point. That's all they're doing now. That strike was babies and incubators. It was, we got some soldiers. Look, we're gonna take some of them out, some of the bases, but let's leave some of them in some of the bases. You know the old saying, you can't take them all. Don't take them all. You got to leave some for seed, right? So what they're doing is this: we got to go and hit Iran. We got these soldiers in bases, yes, close to Iran, great, excellent. Lots of them, thousands of them, yeah, good. Just tell them stand, like we got an X on the ground. Tell these soldiers to stand on that X. All right, the X is. That's where X marks the spot. Just don't tell them why. Just tell them to stand on the X, okay? We're going to go in and bomb Iran. Upon bombing Iran, Iran will then fire missiles We will use our computers to calculate the exact spot that the missiles will land. We will then move the X around on the ground until we can put the X on the exact spot that the missiles will land, and we will congregate our soldiers on that X. They will be blown to bloody hell. Every one of them will be killed. Everyone. And if any of them isn't killed, take them out and shoot them anyway, because we need more deaths. At which time we will go before the American people and say, we did our own false flag. We'll high five at the Pentagon. How many soldiers did you lose? Well, we lost 5,000 soldiers. 5,000? I thought you promised me 10,000 soldiers. Yeah, well, you can't. You got a false flag with the amount of soldiers you have. You can't false flag with the amount of soldiers you want. We wanted 10,000. We can only muster 5,000 soldiers up for the false flag. All right, 5,000. I wish we had 10. Let's give it a shot. Trump will go on TV. Americans, a terrible thing has happened. Horrible, unthinkable thing. 10,000 soldiers were killed, and somebody will be like, it's only 5,000. And Trump will be like, God damn it, somebody wrote this yesterday. It was supposed to be 10. Jesus Christ. Oh, my bad. How many were killed? 5,000. 5,000 brave American soldiers who we love, who we stand for. Their families are home. Their bodies coming home in a flag-draped casket. The Iranian mullahs did it. We tried to protect them. We did everything we could to protect those poor, dear young souls. And now they're dead. They're gone. Now, granted, we're going to attack Iran, and a whole lot more, probably hundreds of thousands will die, whatever the hell. But that's not important now. What we're trying to do is regime change. So, looks like we might have to do a draft. I don't know how you're fixed on kids. If you got a couple you can spare in service to Israel, let me know, 1 or 2. We don't want them all. We don't need them all. You can keep a couple. Boys, girls, it don't matter. Whatever. If they're in a wheelchair, we'll roll them downhill into battle. What the hell? Who cares, really? You know what I'm saying? My kid ain't going. Barron, trust me when I tell you this, he's getting a deferment. But as for you, Mr. Transmission Salesman, Mr. Diesel Mechanic, yeah, you got kids, their asses. And Iran is the lawnmower. So here's what we're going to do. Now that, unfortunately, a terrible incident has occurred, and an Iranian missile struck an American air base. And how many was it? Damn it, I thought you said you were getting me 10,000. 5,000 brave American souls were lost. And now it looks like we're going to have to go to war. And what we'd like all the young people to do, if you're 30 and under, you can head on to your local recruiter's office. Your gun will be assigned to you. We'll have a flag sent to your parents so that when your body comes home in a casket, we'll give them the flag early on us. That way we don't have to wait. You got to get ahead of these things. And that's anything else, guys? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Make Israel great again. And have a nice day. I'm out. That's going to be Trump. That's his speech right there. That is it. It was. People were like, I wonder if there'll be a false flag. That was the false flag. The false flag was, we will do an attack. And see, the giveaway was, here's the giveaway, that they didn't kill anybody, that they didn't really hit anything. It was a false flag attack. Deliberately, it was bait. We'll do the attack. Iran will counterstrike, and then we'll have what we need to take your freaking kids, draft them, put a gun in their hands, and send them to their untimely death in the Middle East. That's the plan that Trump had. If it was really Trump's plan, somebody's plan, but Trump was the one who was executing it. And the only problem I think they really have is, I don't think Iran is going to go along with it. I think Iran is smart. Iran is like this. You threw a couple bombs in, you bombed, I think you killed a friggin', a field mouse, a couple of scorpions in the desert when you bomb that area. That's pretty much the long and short of it. So here's what we're going to do. Why shouldn't we strike back? Where's the pain? What did you do? We took everything out, right? So I think Iran is too smart to run they already sent the false flag, and Iran's not going to run the false flag up the pole to see if anybody salutes. They did. So here's my point. If you think about it, in Trump coming clean to let everybody know this is in fact a regime change war, he's prepping you. He is preparing you bit by bit. We bombed Iran, and hopefully they'll retaliate and kill some American soldiers. But if they don't, we started off with this ain't a regime change war. Doesn't look like Iran's taking a bait. So what do? Stick our nose a little bit further. He goes from, yes, we're going to stop them from, we're going to stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons. Iran says, screw you. We're going to bomb them. And then they'll strike back. Iran's like, yeah, screw you twice. They're like, how are we going to get the Americans to start to thinking about regime change? Let's just come out with the word. Let's be soft. Let's be gentle. Let's try to play, hey, we're pushing back against political correctness. That's it. Let's play that we're pushing back against political correctness. That'll work with my crowd. They sat there. They brought in a bunch of psychologists. You know how they are. They did like a group of people and put them in a room and asked them questions, did all of that crap. And then they came together and they said, what do we do? Okay, Trump, here's what you do. We want you to start using the word regime change. We want the MAGA crowd to start feeling regime change. We want the MAGA crowd to start thinking regime change. They don't even know why. We want people to go, make America, and then use this word, make Iran great again, make something great again, right? But use that word as regime change. So Trump's going to go, hey, what's wrong with a little old regime change every now and then? Screw that political correctness, right? Regime change. It's for you. And then, they're going to have like a big, like letters in the sky. They'll have an American flag that says regime change on it. They'll have planes flying over regime change. It's what makes America great. It's what makes America great. Trump will come out and he'll have a hat on, make regime change great again. They'll start using the words regime change. And before you know it, the suckers will start hearing it. I wonder if I should get a blue and yellow I support Ukraine flag. Regime change. Make regime change. And they won't even know why. And you'll be slowly, but you'll be brainwashed. You'll be MK Ultra without even having to give you the MK Ultra. And before you know it, you'll be wandering around, slobbering. Regime change. Must have regime change. Hey, Garland, how you doing? Regime change. Must have. I think Garland's brain is fried. He's just wandering around slobbering all the time. He looks like a zombie, and all he says is regime change. Must have regime change. Mullahs are evil. That's the plan. Fox News will do it. CNN, MSNBC, the Wall Street Journal. Today's headlines: regime change. Make regime change great again. Buy yourself a flag and go around and say regime change. Here's your bumper sticker. Free bumper stickers. Buttons. Instead of American flag, it'll be like an American flag and it'll have RC on it. That doesn't stand for Republican Committee. It stands for regime change. Trump has started softening up the minds of those who are still sucker enough to think that he's some kind of an anti-neocon. Ooh, I can't imagine believing that. Let me say this. There ain't a soul on earth outside of America right now who believes a word that he says. I mean, you can go on whatever Telegram and you'll still, wherever, I guess X if you're on X, and you'll still find some people saying, I think Donald Trump's doing the right thing. He's got a plan. Follow him. Follow the plan. He's going to do what you least expect at the least minute. He's just doing that because he wants to stop regime change and stop these never-ending wars. You know the type. The brainwashed. And then, of course, you got the other brainwashed type who are running around just saying, look, I think he's doing the right thing. We must stand up against the mullahs that are basically like, they're a neocon if they need to be. If Trump tells them to be a neocon, they're a neocon. If Trump tells them he's against regime change wars, they're against regime change wars. If he tells them, hey, guess what? Regime change wars are back. They're in again. Donald Trump will suddenly be backing in for regime change wars. So you got a certain percentage of people like that. God bless them. Let them do what they're going to do. But I'm saying, I think the good thing that's happening here is that the cynical amongst us who have felt for some time that we have a system, we have a government that in no way, shape, or form represents us. that you are wasting your time. I mean, if you vote third party, vote for right in Mickey Mouse, it doesn't matter. If you're voting for a Democrat or a Republican, you're brainwashed. You're brainwashed. Not me, brother. Even though Trump ran, and even though I listened to him, and even though I'm far to the left of Trump, and I said, he's saying that he ain't going to do all of this stuff. Maybe he will. We should listen to him. And I said, isn't it a horrible thing that Donald Trump is a Republican and he's saying this stuff and the Democrats should be saying it and they're not saying it, right? They're the neocons, and Donald Trump said, we got to stop the neocons. I said, oh, terrible. But I still wasn't going to vote for Donald Trump because I'm not voting for either of these parties because I don't trust either one of them. I'll believe it when it comes through. And so far, we got what can be expected. But you know what? Come the midterms, people are going to be like, I'll show Donald Trump. I'll vote for the Democrats. The Democrats would say, hooray, are we back in power? Yeah, let's impeach Donald Trump because he won't send more weapons to Ukraine. That's what they'll do. They'll impeach him because he won't send more weapons to the goose friggin' stepping Nazis in Ukraine. That's what you'll get if you vote for the Democrats. And they'll still support a regime change war for Netanyahu. And added some more censorship. Now, Donald Trump wants to censor you. If you say something about Israel, you go to El Salvador. But the Democrats will add Ukraine. Hey, guess what's back? Ukraine. And you don't want to get your boosters? Off you go to El Salvador. Either way, you're going to get some variety of the same creature. It's a sad state of affairs. But it's good because the people who held out hope, the people who thought that perhaps somebody affiliated with one of these parties will free me, will bail me out. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Neither one of them are. And let me add this. Don't even get mad at Donald Trump. He don't have no power. He does not have any authority. He's doing what he's told. Now, I will say this. It looks like the Iranians are still doing what they need to do. Apparently, even though they apparently haven't responded violently to the U.S., which I hope they don't. I think that's a good thing. I think that they're not, they would be baited to do it. It looks like there have been arrivals in Israel. There you go. It looks like there have been arrivals in Israel. It looks like what the hell I don't know what kind of missile hit there. But let me tell you something. I wouldn't want to be anywhere near it. I mean, everything, that building, all of those buildings got to be pushed down. They're off. Well, whatever's left standing, and all the ones in the area are certainly going to be, the integrity of their foundations will be compromised. But you can see right now, there have been arrivals in Israel. And so the Iranians are still, I think what the Iranians will continue to do, I think they will continue to pulverize Israel with the missiles. Donald Trump, in fact, this is what Donald Trump said last night. And let's look at this and let's read Donald Trump's latest statement while we watch this. Trump, we've achieved great success tonight. Israel is much safer. There you go. Yeah, that was a great job, Donald Trump. You bombed some scorpions in the desert, and look at that. Israel's doing well, doing quite well. They're and what's wonderful, as I've said before, the Iranians are getting rid of their missiles one at a time. They're in a salvo to Israel. They're like, hey, yes, good news. We're getting rid of our ballistic missiles. We'll be transferring them to Haifa and Tel Aviv via the sky. So they're sending their missiles there, kablooey, and Israel's getting blown to bloody hell. So even as Donald Trump does this, let's see what we got here. There's another picture. Boom. It looks like there, Iran has, see, you can see that. It looks like that's been hit pretty hard. Iran missiles blown up something there. I don't know. I just think it just blew up in the area and took out a lot of stuff. So bottom line, Iran's which I think, quite frankly, that Iran will do something that's fairly wise, which is, now, don't get me wrong. When I say fairly wise, I'm not saying, hooray, let me see. I'm not saying, hooray, I want any war, I want anybody to get hurt. Let's see. 3 seconds. Breaking. Iranian missiles are flying towards the occupied territories. Uh, so it looks like, even as we speak, it looks like there are, let's take a look at this. Ooh. Oh, we watched those. Oh, I watched those yesterday. I'm just trying to look for holy crap. Here's another picture of Tel Aviv, just so you'll get an idea of how things are looking in downtown Tel Aviv. All right, see that? We can see that this is an entire area that is just obliterated. I don't think that's an AI picture. I think that's reality in Tel Aviv. You can see the, I mean, just absolute, looks like a freaking tornado hit that, but it wasn't. It was one of them Fatah missiles or something like that. Had a visit to Tel Aviv. So bit by bit, Tel Aviv is turning into a, hellhole, basically. Let's see. They're getting bombed. So things ain't looking good in Tel Aviv. That's my point. And I think what Iran's going to continue to do is, and I think the wise move right now is, don't buy into the manufactured false flag. The false flag is, we bomb you, you attack back. That gives us an excuse to go all in. And to think about it, think about this. What Trump, I mean, he kind of gave it away. Trump said, look, we bomb, that's it, it's all over. But of course, if they don't do a deal, then we might have to attack again. But think about, remember, we've been at loggerheads. The deal that Trump has said, like, they had a deal basically. It's called the JCPO. But even recently, they were talking and they were saying, let's do 3.67%. That's what Iran said. That's what we can do under international law. You can't go above international law. We'll continue to do that. Don't even talk to us about our ballistic missiles, because that's our defense and we have a right to have a defense. So the answer is no. So the Trump team was like, well, no. And they're like, well, that's our red lines, and we got a right as an independent sovereign nation to have red lines. So we are going to act in accordance with international law and do the things we can do. Trump said, okay, we'll continue to talk, and attacked him. So now Trump is saying, yes, they have to get a deal. Well, here's the bottom line. Here's what we know. They get a deal. You keep telling them that they have to, let me see the latest. You're saying to them that they have to capitulate to everything that you want. They have to give up their red lines, and they're saying they're not going to give up their red lines. So you bomb them and say, okay, that's it. If we get a deal, we can all walk away. But you're not going to get a deal. So you've surrounded them with missiles, with aircraft carriers, with all this kind of stuff, and then you say you want a deal. There's a great movie. One of my favorite movies is a movie called Serenity. Outstanding if you like sci-fi. There was a used to be a show on sci-fi called Firefly, and as a result of that movie Firefly, they made this great movie called Serenity. But one part of the movie, the guy who was Mal, right, the star of the movie, he was like kind of an outlaw, kind of renegade guy, and the Empire, the bad guy, the Empire had sent somebody to talk to him, and the guy was, a trained killer. And the guy says, hey, we don't want any trouble. We don't want violence. We just want to negotiate. And Mal looks at him and says, if the Empire wanted to negotiate, they wouldn't have sent an assassin, right? He ain't stupid. We want to negotiate. You're an assassin. That's what you do. You don't send an assassin to negotiate. You send a diplomat to negotiate. You send an old guy with a briefcase. You don't send a guy with a sword. Another interesting part was the guy says to Mal, he says, Are you willing to die for what you believe in? And Mao says, yeah, but that ain't plan A. Boom, and he shoots the guy. But at any rate, my point being, Trump says we're just going to bomb you once and then we're going to go away. Wait a minute. You've brought airplanes and tankers from all over the world and surrounded Iran with them. You've brought in ships, an armada of ships, and surrounded Iran with them. So you've surrounded them with an armada of ships, planes, hundreds of tankers. Now Keir Starmer comes out and says, if anybody kills us, now here's what Keir Starmer comes out and says: if anybody kills an American troop, then that should be considered a NATO violation, and Article 5 kicks in. Keir Starmer says that. So now Article 5 means if anybody anywhere in the world, think about this: the United States and Israel have violated international law to launch a criminal war of aggression against Iran. And Keir Starmer says if Iran fires back and defends itself against the United States, Article 5 kicks in all of NATO. So now, if you didn't have an idea of what NATO is a U.S., really just a U.S. war machine. They're saying, look, we'll send everybody over there. First of all, they've got their monkey, their pet monkey, Zelensky. They're leaving him to be killed. They're just leaving him out, hanging him out to dry. They're like, we're done with our monkey. Let's move on here. Maybe we can beat Iran. We sure as hell can't beat Russia, so maybe we can beat Iran. Let's give that a shot, right? So there, Keir Starmer, what's he say? He literally said, look, we can launch a criminal war of aggression against you. And if you shoot back, it's Article 5. It is a violation of NATO's Article 5, and all of NATO has to come in and attack you. That's Keir Starmer. These people are criminals. And now, and see, here's the gear. Here's the thing. What did Keir Starmer do? He gave away the game, that this is a false flag operation. The only reason that they bombed was to try to bait Iran into shooting back, to kill an American. Think about this. They're trying to get American soldiers killed so they can have an excuse to go to war. Wouldn't be the first time. Remember the Maine, Lusitania, Pearl Harbor. What do? They bait people in so Americans can get killed, or maybe they kill them themselves. I don't know. Some people say, I wonder, some people ask this question. If a plane crashes into a building, 3,000 degree heat, and an unthinkable explosion, and it's so hot and everything that an entire three buildings, a building that ain't even connected to the explosion falls. Buildings everywhere are dropping. Somehow, a passport in a little plastic package survives all of that heat and flies a block away and just hits on the ground. Muhammad Atta. There are those who may be suspicious of that. There are those of that who may say thousands of Americans were killed for a false flag. There are people who may believe that. I don't really know, but there are some suspicious things. But don't think for 1 second these people won't kill Americans. And lots of them, just to get the next war they want. So right now, they're hoping for Iran to take the bait and to kill one American, just anything. And you know what? If Americans don't do it, I have a bad feeling they'll do it themselves. And so Iran, here's the way I see it. Iran ain't going to take the bait. Iran's not going to take the bait. I don't believe they're going to. Iran, what they're going to do is they're going to fire on Israel. Now, my understanding is that the Iranians have said something like this. We're going to hit Israel with a big missiles. We're going to test out some missiles on Israel tonight or something like that, right? Well, they may or may not, because one of the things that the Iranians do is they play this psychological game with Israel where they say we're not going to hit you, then a bunch of missiles come in and hit them. Then Iran says we're going to hit you with something big, and then they don't hit them with anything at all. Okay, so they're playing a game with Israel, but I have a feeling maybe they'll hit them big, and so their pushback will be against Israel. Now, if you look at the kind of things Trump has, let me see, said. I mean, look at this. This is Trump. And again, he just says whatever. Look, great unity in the Republican Party. Listen to this. Perhaps unity like we have never seen before. When people are like, hey, man, I've had enough of this crap. Donald Trump, you lied to me. You just lied. And Donald Trump says, great. This is 8 hours ago. Great unity in the Republican Party. Unity like we've never seen. They've never seen unity before. There's people screaming, Donald Trump, you lied to us. And what does Donald Trump say? We wiped out, destroyed, obliterated the Iranian, everything from Iran. Number one. That's done. It's finished. Number two, perhaps regime change the thing we're going to do. And then the people are like, hey, we're pissed at you. MAGA's furious. Furious? Well, we've got great unity. Like never, ever. Nobody's ever, I'm telling you, nobody's ever seen unity like this before. This is the unity of all unity. Great unity in the Republican Party. Woo-hoo-hoo. And let's see. And look, they've got this big, here's what's interesting. This is what you get in Israel. Let me show you something in Israel right now. There you go. This is on a building in Israel. Wouldn't surprise me if that building ain't there tomorrow. If that building looks like rubble tomorrow, wouldn't shock me a bit. No, actually it would, because Iranians are tended not to be, just doing things for public relations purposes. I think the Iranians are actually hitting targets that they have in their bank of targets. But the bottom line is there's a bill. There you go. Thank you, Mr. President. Now, isn't it interesting that Israel calls him Mr. President? It's almost like he's the president of Israel, or maybe the vice president of Israel. I don't know. But he sure as hell ain't got to do with much to do with this country. He's got something about him being shot. So the bottom line is, I think we figured out the game here. So, and I think the Iranians know that if they don't take the bait, which they won't, and they just slap the bejesus out of Israel again, and which I think they will, then if this doesn't work, as Mao said in Serenity, if the empire wanted to negotiate, they wouldn't have sent an assassin. In the same way, if Donald Trump wanted to leave and not do a regime change war in the Middle East, he wouldn't have sent 4 carrier groups, an armada of planes and tankers and F-18s and 16s and everything that he could get his hands on. He didn't send that stuff to the Middle East for it to come back. He didn't. He sent that there, and now they're in hopes. They got their fingers crossed. Somehow, some way, they got to get the Iranians to kill some soldiers. Some soldiers got to die so they can then point to you and say, what a terrible thing. We got to stand up for ourselves. Israel probably kill them themselves. Wouldn't be the first time. The SS Liberty, maybe the Nimitz, maybe some other ship, maybe a smaller ship, maybe whatever. You can rest assured what what's going to happen? Some missile's going to come flying into a ship or whatever the hell, blow up a bunch of Americans, dead as doornails, and America will go, Iranians, it's blown up our, what, fill in the blank. And you know what the Iranians are going to say? What the hell are they talking about? We didn't even fire a missile in that direction. What? Where? Yes, it hit a bomb. I mean, it hit an American ship, a sub, a plane at the same time, and a base. One missile blew them all up, kind of like the magic bullet. Right. So these are all Iranian. It was that evil ricochet Iranian missile hits 5 things at a time, kills all kinds of Americans. They'll friggin' take an American soldier out and strangle his ass to death, and then say, "Oh my God, the Iranians killed him." I guess we got to go in regime change war, and there's a certain level of suckers that'll be like, "Oh my God, they killed an American." Yeah, and by they, we mean Trump and Netanyahu and his evil, demonic, fiend friends. They're killing American. And then they'll say, we got to go in. Right, that's it. We got to bomb Iran. They've been singing bomb. They literally made a song out of it. And who sang it? John McCain Trump. Barack, Donald Barack, George W. McCain Trump. That's who the hell we got. Keep on hoping. All right, let me look. See what we got here. But guess what, Americans? I can't be mad. Don't say anymore that you've been blindsided. Never once again say, I didn't see it coming. I've been blindsided. From now on, you know what you say? They made it clear this time, didn't they? Trump doesn't realize people were trolling him with MIGA, make Israel great again. No, but he was saying make Iran great again. He don't care. Trump doesn't care. He is, look, here's Trump. I won. It's too late now. You can't unvote for me, suckers. You can't unvote for me. I'll tell you what's MAGA, MIGA, you name it. I'll tell you what it is. And if you don't like it, it's too late. I already got your vote. I'm a lame duck. What are you going to do? I'm getting paid by these neocons. I'm eating, man. Come on. Palantir. Here's a guy who comes in telling you, oh, we're going to stand for your rights and censorship. Unless, of course, you say something about Israel, then you'll be sent away. And of course, it's Palantir. It's all about Palantir. He's bringing Palantir in. Donald Trump is the opposite of what he said. And you know what else? Let me say this about this immigrant stuff. A lot of people said the truth about this immigrant stuff, and it is true. If you go to the neighborhoods where Donald Trump will live, you'll find a lot of undocumented immigrants working there, taking care of their kids, cutting their lawns, working at their buildings, building their buildings, doing whatever. Why? Because they're cheap. They want undocumented immigrants because they can pay them less. They don't want them to go. There's a reason they want them to stay illegal so they can pay them less. They want to have them over a barrel. And so when Donald Trump came in and says we're getting rid of the undocumented immigrants, there are a lot of us who said, oh, no, he ain't. His class makes a fortune off of them. So what did Donald Trump do? He sent a few undocumented away, probably not nearly what he said. And then he says, you know, a bunch of businessmen have come to me and said, you know, we're selling fruits and vegetables and things and construction, and we need those undocumented immigrants. So don't send them. And Donald Trump says, yeah, so nah, you know, maybe not. Okay, in certain areas where they work, we'll just let them stay. In other words, it's over. Not in certain areas. It's the whole scam that he was going to address the immigration stuff, and that his class of rich people who make a fortune by using cheap labor from undocumented immigrants, that they were going to bite off the hand that feeds them, that they were going to somehow get rid of the people that they're paying 50% of what they're paying everybody else, that they can go get a bunch of day laborers and pay them X amount of dollars. They don't have to put anything on their social security number. They don't have to pay taxes on them. Even if they pay them the same, even if they pay them $20 an hour, let's say they pay them $20 an hour, but let's say they were going to have to pay you $20 an hour. But guess what else they got to pay? They got to pay taxes. They got to pay FICA. They got to do paperwork. They got to do all these other things if they pay you. If they pay the undocumented, they just give them cash and send them on about their way. And hey, nobody knows anything. They get nothing extra to be paid. They don't have to buy insurance for them. If they get hurt on a job, they don't have to cover it. They don't have to do anything. What are they going to do? Complain? They can't. They can mistreat them. They don't. If they get hurt, they don't have to pay them a settlement. If they're injured on the job, nothing. They love undocumented immigrants. Donald Trump did 4.5 months of so-called crackdowns on undocumented immigrants, and then what happened? Some manufactured uprisings. Right? That was their excuse. Hey, we've got uprising in Los Angeles. What are you going to do? You notice at exactly the same time, we've got uprisings in Los Angeles. And exactly at that time, Donald Trump suddenly says, you know, I got called by some businessmen. Who are they? I don't know, probably himself. He's like, well, there's uprisings in Los Angeles. But you know, since that happens to be happening anyway, conveniently and coincidentally, I got some calls from a bunch of businessmen. And they said to me, Donald Trump, we need these undocumented immigrants. Didn't know that before, but we suddenly figured it out. Now that there's convenient protests, and they said to me, Donald Trump, we need these guys. This is how we eat, bro. We pay these people less. Who's going to pick our food? Who's going to pick our fruits, our vegetables, do all of this work where we'd have to pay Americans for? And Donald Trump said, therefore, as a result of our businesses, because we've got to make business great again. Yeah, so much for that immigration stuff. That lasted 4 months. We're done. Hey, look, man, we got to do 150 billion extra for the Pentagon. Come on, I don't have time to do everything. I got a big, beautiful bill, and lots more money is going to the Pentagon. We got to get that done. So that's it for the immigration. Everything he said. Look, I wasn't in favor of all of his immigration stuff. I said, hey, look, go by international law. If somebody's not here illegally, that's the law. If somebody has a right to apply for a refugee status under international law, go by the law. All I say is this: I'm fine if you go by the law. But I knew that they wouldn't go by the law anyway, because I knew that they deliberately destabilized this country. So the country X, Guatemala, let's destabilize Guatemala. What's going to happen? A bunch of Guatemalans will come here because their country is destabilized, and then of course we can use them to raise our children and cut our grass because we're rich. And then we'll pretend when it's time to vote, we'll say to you, you're suffering. Why? Because of those immigrants. Oh, isn't that terrible? Yeah. And if you vote for us, we'll take care of the immigrant problem. Great. I'm voting for you. You're going to take care of the immigrant problem? Well, I got a call from some businessmen. And they said, we need the undocumented immigrants. So no, actually, we're not going to do anything about it. But at least you got us pushing back against regime change. Whoop. Ooh, yeah, that one's kind of gone too, isn't it? Whatever, make America great again. Vote for me, and I'll set you free. For God's sake, wake up, America! As the old Cheech and Chong, they had this old skit. Wake up, America! Your dream. That was in the 1970s. All right, Matless X Matlock. Could that be Matlock? Could it be? Did you see Reza Pahlava on Patrick Bet David about a year ago? He said the smartest man in the Carter administration was Brzezinski. He also said Mossadegh wasn't democratically elected. Well, of course not. Reza Pahlava is the son of the Shah of Iran, who's running around talking out. Now, do you think the Iranians aren't looking like, oh my God, they want to put the Shah's son back in? That means secret police. That means we'll be disappeared, killed, and starved. Yeah, I think they're going to fight. So no, I didn't see it. But of course, we know the game. We know the game, and now hopefully other people are figuring it out. Let's look at this. We are answering super chats. We're going out like Alonzo in Trading Day. I like that. I like that one. Let's see. We got another one. Crows says, GL, I think it's going to be a huge false flag. Oh, yeah, that one was a false flag. That was just a false flag to try to bait them in. Bro, you are the only one telling the truth. Thank you very much, Doug. Thank you very much. Yeah, it was a false flag. That's all it was. Don't you drop that yellow cake. And don't eat yellow snow. Let's try Rumble, because there could be Rumble rants. And we wouldn't want to miss the Rumble rants. We wouldn't want to miss the Rumble rants. There could be Rumble rants. I don't see any Rumble. Oh, there we go. Marduk GKOB says neocons are failure enthusiasts. Yeah, here's the thing about it. They're playing with your money. What do they care? It's easy to gamble if I'm gambling with your money. So you are right. We got another one. And Vivian, that's a super sticker. Thanks a lot, Vivian. I appreciate it. Nothing else right now. Okay, that's it. Let's look for Rockfin. Maybe somebody on a Rockfin did or said something. God only knows what, but we're going to look and see on a Rockfin. Let's look. We're looking for Rockfin, but we ain't having much luck. New. Mega Iran, someone smarter than Trump is generating his deflected propaganda. Make Israel great again is what they're deflecting. Yeah, well, I'll put it like this. Somebody smarter than Trump. Is there anybody that isn't? Trump is really a hollow shell. He's Biden. Biden was a hollow shell. Trump's a hollow shell. There are times now when I see Trump do things that are so contradictory, so absurd, I start to wonder if he's starting to get a little dementia. I do. I mean, and I'm not just saying that. This is not a I hate Trump, I dislike Trump thing. It ain't about liking or disliking him. But when a person says something within a few hours that are so contradictory and so absurd, I'm going to say this. He was sharper than he is now his first 4 years. I'm sure he was just as treacherous. I'm sure he lied just as much. I'm sure he was just as much a Zio puppet as he was now, but he was sharper. Trump ain't sharp right now. I think Trump is losing it. And I think that basically what they'll do, somebody says it ain't dementia. Maybe it is, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it just appears that way to me, but it appears that he ain't all that sharp. But I'll say this. Right now, he's a disposable asset for the machine. He's definitely a disposable asset for the machine. You can see the setup coming, right? They're going to do this thing, and they're going to do the false flags like they're doing. They're going to try to bait Iran. They're going to get into a war. And of course, our economy is going to collapse. That's part of the game, right? Think about this. It's certainly part of the game. They're going to collapse the economy, not accidentally. Not accidentally. They went intentionally. And I'll tell you why I think they're going to do it. I'll tell you why. They're $37 trillion in debt, dude. They're going to turn over the economic chessboard. Based on the economic system right now, this thing's going to fall apart real shortly. And the stupid things they're doing are going to make the bond market get more and more unstable, right? The bond market's getting more and more unstable, which means we are not going to be able to pay even our interest on the debt, right? So they're going to look at it and they're going to say, oh my gosh, we can't afford to pay the bank. What do you think we should do? Let's blow up the bank. So right now you're like, oh, they won't do this because if they do this, and it's going to smash the system to pieces. Systems, under the current system, the United States economic neoliberal system ain't going to survive. Another year or two. Trump just added 150 billion to the budget. To the Pentagon budget? Why do you think he did that? That was the money for this war. That was the money. It was like 150 billion added to the budget. Why so much? That was for this war. It was like, hey, we're gonna have a war. They went to Trump. Hey, we need 150 billion more on the Pentagon budget. Why is that? Because we're getting ready to go to war with Iran. Oh, okay. 150 billion. And then you're supposed to go out and say, this is the greatest Make America Great Again budget ever. We're going to have the greatest military ever. Nobody's ever seen anything like this. It's a big, beautiful military. You just go out and say that, Trump. Okay. And he's going to go out and do what he's told. And they got the money for their war. And then if the system crumbles and crashes, what the hell? They can't pay their bills anyway. What do they care if the bank gets blown up? And of course, now they're doing their false flag, and they already got their scapegoat, which is Trump. When Trump falls apart, people are going to blame him. When this thing goes bad, America's all going to, you know how we are in America. We'll never question the system. It's always a person. It's Biden, it's Trump, it's Netanyahu. We are trained and taught not to question the system. We're trained and taught to get mad at the next puppet, the next piñata that they throw for us to hit. That's what we're taught to be. Here's the piñata, hit it. Ain't no candy falling out. Trump is the piñata. Trump is the avatar. They give you an avatar so that when you get mad, you'll have something to hit, not the system. So this all goes bad and we'll get mad at Trump. Can you believe he lied to us? Oh, we're so mad at Trump. Can you believe what he did? He must be changed. He must be stopped. And then the system will then come out and you got one of two things. Either they'll say Trump has dementia and therefore we got to do the 26th Amendment. Oh, fair enough. The 26th Amendment. In comes J.D. Vance, a guy who, might I add, Peter Thiel, who is the Palantir guy, is his funder. So guess what? And then J.D. Vance. See, think about it. What's coming out right now? They're literally releasing info that says J.D. Vance was opposed to this. J.D. Vance didn't like it. Watch this. J.D. Vance, Iran. And this is a giveaway. Where JD Vance, attack on Iran need not lead to a wider war. JD Vance, the U.S. is not at war with Iran, but it is nuclear program. Vance says Iran has renewed a chance to pursue the path of peace, right? We're not at war with Iran with Iran's nuclear program. So what they're doing is this: they're playing good cop, bad cop, and they're setting JD Vance up as they do all of the warmongering. He will be the next Trump 6 months ago. JD Vance will be the guy who, as they start to take Trump out, old Mr. Palantir, Peter Thiel boy will come forward, and guess what he'll say? You know, there'll be leaks, all the leaks will all say JD Vance was against it, right? And he'll come out and say, you know, I tried to tell Trump not to do this, that it was going to have these terrible negative effects. I was opposed to do it all the same time, and I really didn't want this, but he just wouldn't listen. That's the game. They already got it set up. So what do? Trump's got dementia, whatever the hell, 26th Amendment, impeachment, he's out the door. In comes JD Vance, and you got your another Make America Great Again, part 2. And Vance comes in and says, guys, I wasn't on board with that. Didn't you see the leaks? I was trying to push against this the whole time. If only Trump would have listened to me, we'd have never had all of this problem. But now that I'm in charge, we'll call Palantir. They'll help me fix it. Right? He'll come in and he'll be there and he'll tell us his job is to fix it. And within 6 months, when they start the next regime change war, you'll get from him, perhaps regime change will make America great again. You'll get the same thing. So don't bite. All I'm saying is don't bite the hook. Thanks a lot, everybody. Don't forget, I guess that's it. Thanks a lot, you all. Follow me on Rockvision and Rumble and all that kind of crap. Rumble, Stumble, Bumble. Follow me on Telegram and Facebook and Instagram. Yeah, you know the game. Also, if you can afford it, Buy Me a Coffee is an easy one. You go to Buy Me a Coffee and it says buy Garland a coffee. How much? $5. How many? Whatever, 1 or a million, whatever you can afford. Patreon, certainly an option. PayPal, if you can send something or donate to the channel, whatever the case may be. And of course, even if you can, it doesn't matter. The main thing is, the important thing is that you share this on all your social media platforms. And of course, anytime you're watching alternative media, me or Judge Nat, Dima, Danny Haifong, I don't care who it is, if you see a video, Conversation Among the Ruins, if you see a video that you like, share that video, not just mine, any of them. Share it on all your social media platforms. We got to get people's minds open up to understand, to wake up. And when we use the word false flag, not to say we're some kind of a crazy conspiracy theorist, to understand that the crazy people is the one that can see this thing happening over and over again and don't believe that the same thing is happening as happened the last time, that thinks the government is operating in their best interest, telling them the truth, dare I say. Those are the ones. So share this on all your social media platforms. And last but not least, and this is important, follow me on Substack. I have a P.O. box. Look at it. It's about to scroll there. P.O. Box 32, Glen Burnie, Maryland. You can email me. You can, if you want to email a donation, great. If you want to just email a book, if you want to email a card or a letter, that's great. If you want to send whatever, if you're having an event and you say, hey, Garland, excuse me, not email. You want to write out something. Some people don't like to do email. You want to write out something and send it to me, my P.O. box. Feel free to do it. I read it. I got a whole folder here. I read every single one of them, and a lot of them I've responded to. So thank you very much. Share this on all social media platforms. I'm out.